The Force is about to get stronger in here. You guys know and love the Clone Wars, which changed everything for us and me as a huge Star Wars fan, expanded the universe, and it is my honor to introduce some of the cast here in Kansas City. I'm going to bring them out right now, and it is my honor to introduce Ashley Eckstein, Phil Lamarr, Matt Lanter, James Arnold Taylor. They are the cast of the Clone Wars. Give it up for them. Give it up for them. More, yeah, look excited.
Voice actor turned TikToker, James Arnold Taylor.
He's multi-talented. Please have a seat. Have a seat, my friends.
Oh wait, I wasn't recording. We gotta do it again.
Oh no, again? Okay, you know what? I can bring that energy again. I can definitely bring that energy again.
I want to say, hello, Masters. It's been a while.
I hate to sound like Chris Farley in Saturday Night Live, but that was awesome.
I'll say hello there.
I won't say anything.
You just did.
Because I'm a rebel.
You know, I think it's truly such a great honor, and I think, you know, we all feel that way. We started making Star Wars: The Clone Wars in 2006, so it's been quite a while, and you know, I think we all hoped that the show would be very successful, but you know, to be here in 2022, all of these years later, celebrating the show and celebrating these characters, and the fact that our characters are still going, and it's really a dream come true, and it's an honor that we don't take lightly.
Yeah, for me it was stepping into the role of Anakin, but it was fun and creative, and we kind of got to do a new Anakin with something we hadn't seen. I guess there was a sense of pressure, but in some way a sense of freedom, because we weren't trying to do Anakin from the movies. We were kind of trying to do a new Anakin, a hero that we hadn't seen before. But yeah, I mean, the fans and the whole Star Wars family has been so receptive to, I think, all of us and the show and just the new storytelling, and obviously that's so much fun for us. I think, me personally, I probably speak for all these guys too, that the Star Wars fandom really... What do I say?
Stroking there, Sky Guy? No, I think it's great, Anakin.
Anyway, I'll move on. I think I speak for these guys. I don't even know what I was going to say now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anakin, no pressure.
The Star Wars family has been awesome. When you being a part of the Star Wars universe, I feel like we all are family. It's kind of what I was getting at. And to be a part of this whole family has been just awesome.
Yeah. And I would just tack that on and bring in Phil Lamarr on that too. From Phil Lamarr to Jim
up for Phil.
Kelly, Corey Burton, to Tom Kane, to D. Bradley Baker, Nika Futterman, all these fantastic actors that we got to work with on a daily basis, that we also still are family with, that we text to each other. We're all still close. We're all a family, and that's because of Star Wars, but it's also because of all of you. But the amazing work that this man does as well is what I can't wait to hear some more about as well, because he blows me away every time I get into a booth with him, so pretty great.
Thank you. You made Anakin really, really cool, if I may say so.
Ooh, well, you know, fortunately, we worked on the show for 2 years before it ever came out in theaters in 2008. And so we had the chance to truly fall in love with our characters, and especially Ahsoka. We were always a season ahead. So we were well done with season 1 before you all even got to see the movie. And so I knew how far she had come just in season 1. And when the movie came out, she had a lot of haters. I'll just say that. And it was devastating at first, because, like I said, I had already fallen in love with her. And, you know, I had a day where I had a pity party, and I read the reviews, and I drowned myself in cheesecake, and I I locked myself in a hotel room and didn't come out for the day, and it was cool.
That sounds like a great day to me, huh? Really fun.
Revenge is sweet, isn't it, Ahsoka?
I know, it was, I was just like sobbing in my cheesecake. But then the next day I was like, no, I'm not going to, succumb to this. I know how great of a character she is, and I'm just gonna ask fans for their patience, because I know how far she's come just in season 1. So, no character is perfect from the beginning, and if they were, it would be a really boring character. So, I just asked fans to go on the journey with her, and never did I think that this journey, we'd be here in 2022, and now she's getting her own show, and it's just truly surreal. So yeah, I'm grateful for it. It was daunting, but I just have always been honest with fans. I've listened and been honest and just begged for support and patience and thank you. I mean, thank you for sticking with us, and thank you for sticking with this character, and I think she turned out okay.
The turning, well, that's interesting because there's 2 moments, I can reference what you might be talking about there. I mean, there was my first performance, 8th grade. My school was doing a production of The Phantom Toll Booth, which is a book that I loved. I wasn't interested in acting. I auditioned because I loved the book. And there's one little character, and towards the end of the book, that the census taker, I want to play that. But then I got cast as one of the leads. And I opened the show doing a 2-minute monologue alone on stage under the spotlight. And that was, oh wow. That was a transformative moment. They're just being out there and feeling the energy of an audience and having it not make me want to wet my pants. It made me feel 70 feet tall. I'm like, I like this. So I basically spent the last 40 years trying to find that moment.
And here it is.
Ahsoka was actually my first big voiceover job. What a lot of people don't realize is I was a live action actress. I mostly did film and television, but I really wanted to get into voiceover, and it did not come easy. I auditioned for about 4 years, probably about 400 auditions that I did not get before I got Ahsoka. And I mean, of course I wanted to give up. Of course I was discouraged. But had I given up, I wouldn't have gotten this role that completely changed my life. And so just do not give up. Just know you're gonna fail more than you're gonna succeed. But that success, when you get it, it just feels so good, and it could change your life, so keep going.
And shout out to That's So Raven, live action, Ashley, pretty awesome.
Alana said that she likes Star Wars.
James, do you have an aha?
No, I was also to tack on what Ashley said. Ashley, what did you come in to read for originally in Clone Wars? Was it?
It was actually Padme.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the other point, is you may be going in for one thing and you end up with something else. So just know you got to be yourself. You got to put out what you have in there and the characters that you have. With voice acting, you have no inhibitions, so you got to be able to make funny faces and do weird noises and all that. And you just don't know what it's going to lead to. So just put all of it out there and enjoy it. Every time I'm on a microphone, I say a prayer of thanks because it's the greatest job in the world. So just enjoy every moment of it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good question.
So recently, news came out that Hayden Christensen has binged the Clone Wars to prepare for Kenobi. And I'm waiting for the news that Ewan has done the same. But I was wondering, have there been any conversations ever where Anakin has talked to Anakin? So Matt, that's a question for Matt.
Yeah, I did. I met Hayden in Chicago a few years back, and just super nice. We just had a great conversation. He, he had seen some of the show at that point. He just said that, what the Clone Wars has done for the saga as a whole and kind of that connective tissue, he really appreciated that. And yeah, I saw that same article. That's great. I love it. I think there's a wealth of knowledge for the character. That there's a lot of character development. So that's awesome that he watched it. And it's cool. I can't wait to see it.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, Hayden Christensen's a smart man. Does his best.
For me, it's the Duchess Satine, Anna Graves. And you know, most of the time we got these scripts the day of.
Yeah.
So we would walk in the room and get them. And there's a certain thing, spoiler alert, in season 5, that happens with Obi Wan and Satine and Maul. And I didn't have the script until we walked in, and so I didn't know what was going to happen until I read the words. So those, great moments in your life and dramatic moments in your life too. So all of those storylines are pretty good. But the Mortis arc, I've talked to a lot of you today about the Mortis arc. You guys remember we were doing those? And Obi Wan was always like, Anakin, what are we doing? What is going on here? He didn't know anything.
I remember we laughed about that because Obi-Wan was so aloof, had no idea where he was, like what was going on.
Where's my sandwich?
Master, what are you talking about?
So I liked those ones too.
I like the Mortis arc too because it was very different from stuff we'd previously seen, and Anakin got to really discover that, that inner turmoil and the possibility of being the chosen one, and what did that mean? And so for me, that stood out. It was super, just dealt with the mythos of the Force. I just thought it was cool. Yeah, it always stands out in my head.
I like the Mortis arc as well, but since they answered that, I will say that getting to come back together for the final season of Clone Wars, did you all like it?
I think they liked it.
I think everyone knows now, the Clone Wars was canceled, and we didn't know that, at the time. So it was devastating because we were in the middle of doing, we were about to start season 7.
I mean, it was just really moving forward. It was doing really good.
It was so sad, and so I'm a very positive person, but had you asked me if Clone Wars was ever going to come back, I would have said no. Because I think we were all kind of protecting our hearts a little bit of we don't want to get our hopes up for something that we held so near and dear. And so the fact that we got to come back for season 7 and we knew that it was our final season, we knew that we were, we cherished those moments in the studio, and we signed each other's scripts, and we cried, and we took photos, and so those were some really special memories.
And then they confiscated the scripts and said, you can't.
Burn them!
Do you remember the moment we did this scene with Anakin and Padme are talking, and Rex is there, and Obi-Wan, and we got it, and Dave goes, "Oh, we already got it, it's great, but let's just do it a few more times. I just like watching you guys play." Thanks, Dave.
Dave Filoni, everybody. Thank you very much.
Genius.
Well, it's hard because we know where the story goes.
I would have liked to seen Anakin become a Jedi Master. It's just a small deviation from, the murder. You can't always get what you want.
It's also weird because we did that after Rebels had already come out and things had been, so it was really this kind of, great Scott Marty, we're in a time continuum. Oh, wait a second, Doc, Anakin is Darth Vader? Oh, heavy. But, so you had to kind of balance all of that, so it was confusing and complex. But I wish that, Plo Koon had survived. I still am holding out the Plo Koon's still out, right? And Kit Fisto, too. They both, yeah. Look, if Darth Maul can get cut in half and come back, Kit Fisto and Plo Koon have their own show.
Well, Sam Jackson is convinced that Mace Windu survived the fall out the window.
There you go.
I just assume there's a Bacta tank for everything, right? Yeah, come on. Those things are pretty miraculous. So, I hope for the same thing. So I love those characters.
2 words, Ewan McGregor.
I was intimidated by Ashley, if you want to tell that story. She laid down the law when I got cast. I was a recast, by the way. I don't know if you know that, but there was another Anakin before me who recorded some episodes.
Matt Lucas.
Well, okay, so the backstory is, we had been working on the show for 6 months prior to Matt Lanter joining the cast, and Dave Filoni had drilled in my head, he was like, people are gonna want Anakin and Ahsoka to get together, but it's never gonna happen because they're more like brother and sister. So, on
Star
that-
Wars.
I think Padme would have something to say about that also.
Exactly. So, but Matt's first day on the job, I don't even super remember it well, but did I even introduce myself first?
Yeah, it was super early. It was, hi, I'm Matt. Anakin and Ahsoka are not lovers. They're like brother and sister.
Just so you know, there's nothing going on.
Yeah, that was it. And I was like, okay.
What is?
Well,
We really do have relationships like our characters.
complicated. No, there's always a certain level of challenge to taking on a role that someone else. I remember I started out doing voicing Bail Organa for Clone Wars, and you've got somebody. I had much less to do than you did, but you're coming in just filling the shoes of somebody else, somebody who did it 40 feet high on a big screen. So you have to honor what's come before, but more than that, you have to honor the character. I always think about it in terms of theater. Like, hundreds of people have played Hamlet. Nobody goes, I'm gonna go find a recording of Laurence Olivier and copy that. No, you play your version of the role, but you honor what's come before, because that person, helped, created the character, and especially even your voice matching.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, well, like with Obi Wan, I always say now, it started, when I started doing it was back when the movies were still being made. The 2001 micro series of the Clone Wars, I was Obi Wan, and so I was matching Ewan McGregor. So everything had to match what Ewan McGregor said. And now, if you listen to Obi Wan on the Clone Wars, he doesn't really sound like Ewan McGregor. He sounds like Obi Wan Kenobi right in here, which is a little bit of, you don't need to see their identification. You were the chosen one. You combine them, and you get James as Obi Wan. So yeah, which is, Alec Guinness doing Ewan McGregor doing Obi Wan Kenobi. No, that's weird.
It's a team effort.
Well, and I'll tell you a fun fact that some people know, but you might not. So Ahsoka, Dave originally wanted Ahsoka to have an Icelandic accent. And so in the audition, I was asked to do an Icelandic accent, and I butchered it. Like, it was so bad.
And Ming has that recording right now. Cue it up.
It was just literally like so bad. Somehow I got a call back. And so they said, can you please have her practice her Icelandic accent? So I went to this dialect coach and I mastered Icelandic. But he taught me like pure Icelandic, which pretty much sounds Irish. Dave Filoni didn't say that he wanted someone to sound like Bjork. So had he just said, have her go study Bjork, I would have done that. So I go into the audition and I say my first line in Icelandic, and he stops me and he's like, no, I'm sorry, can you do something that sounds a bit more Icelandic? And I did something that I would normally never do. I spoke back to the director and I raised my hand and I was like, I'm sorry, but I am doing Icelandic. I don't know what you want. That got me the part. So, because I managed to be snippy but not bratty, and that's what they wanted for Ahsoka. And so I was dumbfounded when I got the part, and I was like, how did I get this? I butchered my Icelandic accent. And they said, oh, no, we don't want her to do that. Like, just have her, we cast her to be herself. Just have her come in and do your own voice and bring your own personality to the character. So unlike how they had big shoes to fill, I lucked out. Like, I literally just got to be myself. Like, Dave would be like, well, Ashley, how would you say that line? How would you do that? And so literally Ahsoka, in many ways, is my own heart and soul because I was asked to bring myself to the character. So I feel very fortunate that I had an easy job. I don't know about them.
That's cool.
Like the girl who was crying into her cheesecake.
But you were yourself and it worked out. I mean, that's kind of a cool lesson. So
Yeah.
Well,
We all look at each other.
well, I mean, I just want to echo something that you just said, because at first I was a little bent about it, because, we've been recording the episodes, and I'm, doing much less work than these guys are doing, so I'm less invested. But I'm like, wait, you can't just cut up 4 episodes of a show and make it into a movie with, it's like taking parts of a car and just gluing them together and saying, oh, it's gonna run.
Context.
But I didn't really understand the value of it until I went to the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood with my son, who was probably about your age, and the look on his face, or just the feeling of it, because there's this whole generation that their experience of Star Wars, like, here son, watch this from my childhood. And this was his Star Wars on a big screen for the first. It's like, this is not yours. This is mine. And the work that Dave Filoni and those guys did in creating that world was amazing. I'm like, oh, okay, George wins again.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say, so sitting there in the theater watching it, sitting behind me was J.J. Abrams with his 2 sons. And afterwards, you get up and, I'm like, hello there, and boy, I'm a big fan of Lost. No. And his sons were like, oh, what? I'm like, what'd you think of this? This is so great. And I'm like, do you like Obi Wan Kenobi? And they said, where's Anakin? But it was the same thing, because they were young, and it was like, it just struck them in such a neat way. So it's wonderful to hear how many people were taken up into Star Wars from this world that we got to create.
And I do have one request. Matt, can you say I don't like sand?
I think what you would be looking for is, I hate sand.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Come on up, your question. Hi, I just want to say you guys are awesome. Love the show. I got a question mainly for Ashley. If you think Ahsoka could see Anakin one last time, like after his turn, but he's not Vader, what do you think she would say to him?
Oh,
Wow.
okay, Ashley, the Star Wars writer, go.
Well, she does say, I'm no Jedi. So she does say that. I've asked Dave this question several times, and to Phil's point, I'm not the Star Wars writer. But I do think Ahsoka always lives with the kind of guilt of what if? What if she had been able to have one last conversation? What if she hadn't have walked away? What if she had been there? Could she have stopped him? So I don't necessarily know what she would have said, but I think she lives with a lot of questions.
But, to get really deep into Star Wars here and serious for a second, it's the same with Obi Wan. I mean, and look where that went. It didn't, they all tried. This is an intervention from Matt right now, but. No, but it's true. It's like, what do you say?
I hate you!
Yeah, well, I don't like you right now either. 90-90 boo-boo. I have the high ground.
Thank you very much. Hello, your question.
Hi, hi. Okay, so this is mostly to Phil and James. So you guys play my 2 favorite Jedi of all time, obviously Kit Fisto and Plo Koon. Yes. And so I was just wondering, how was it like to actually making a personality to these Jedi that we've only seen a minuscule second in the actual movies?
Well, I mean, it was weird because the character of Kit Fisto had been established on screen without speaking. Had an entire life of battling, dying, and now you get to create the character. What? Oh, and he's got a Caribbean accent. Go. But it was, one, a dream come true. To play a Jedi, and to work with these people and on the show, it's like, okay. and what they gave us to work with, were these characters which in the movies were just people in makeup or costumes or whatever, but all of a sudden in this show, they had relationships, personalities. Kit Fisto was this smiling, energetic Jedi. And I'm like, oh wow, yes, that's something to play. So it actually was easier than it was, had the characters been more established, because you had more to work for.
And with Plo Koon, so, that's Dave Filoni's favorite character, Plo Koon, so there was no pressure there, but he said one word, he said Gandalf. I want him to be very Ian McKellen. I have to do my Dave Filoni, because every time we worked with Dave Filoni and he did anything about George, he would do his George Lucas. So it's like, it's only fair that now we do our Dave Filoni impressions, okay?
Yes.
But, so he said Gandalf, and so
Plo Koon is tweeted. So whenever Matt Wood, the sound designer, goes in and he does Plo Koon's voice for me, he takes it and he bridges it down, and then it's put through a mask and it's Kotoya Ahsoka. And it becomes that. But when it starts, it's right here. And so the beginning,
the first stuff I ever did with Matt and Ashley was actually Plo Koon. It wasn't Obi Wan, because he's in those first, Rising Malevolence and all that.
so I was doing all of this, and I was doing, just Ian McKellen, and it's lovely, it's wonderful.
And so we do the first season, and then I watch it. And because I'm kind of a tape recorder, kind of guy in my head,
They pitched him down to here, so we went into the studio to do the next season, and I started doing him down here.
and Matt Wood's like, "You're killing me, dude." Keep pitching him down. So, yeah, but as Phil said, it's just a tremendous honor, but it's tricky to come up with personalities, but I'm just honored that I got the chance to do it.
I love how Ahsoka has kind of transcended the screen, and she kind of lives in all of us now. Ahsoka Tano was meant to be the eyes of the audience. So you were meant to experience the Clone Wars through Ahsoka's eyes. And so we learned all of these lessons with her. We learned lessons of hope and trust and betrayal and heartbreak. We learned all of this through her. And so, when Ahsoka came back on Star Wars Rebels, I started a hashtag that was like, Ahsoka lives, because literally she just lived. But then now, after season 7 and all of these years, I updated the hashtag to be Ahsoka lives in all of us, because I do feel like she lives in our hearts and in our souls, and we carry her with us throughout our day as we make decisions, and she guides us. And so I think she represents hope, she represents light, and she represents all that's good. And I love how she's just now being carried on by all of us.
I think for Anakin, I'm gonna be super serious here for a second, but I think for me, this speaks to me because I'm a person of faith. And I think watching Anakin's journey, everything that happened and everything he did, there's always redemption. And that's something that speaks to me, that no matter what I do or whatever, there's always redemption. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome. Oh, let's see.
Phil?
Favorite quote? Actually,
Or favorite part about your character? Either one.
Well, I mean, for Kit Fisto, I just love the fact that he's seen. I mean, because a lot of the Jedi, other than Obi Wan and Anakin, were just sort of in the background. But I love that even though Kit Fisto was sort of in the background, he had a presence. I mean, like there's that. There's one quote in particular: "Those who have power should restrain themselves from using it." And that speaks to me that the character has these principles, has this core, even though the show's not about his principles, but it's still there. And he's filling out, the world, around these other characters. That's what I like.
Two-part, one silly, one not. The fact that I got to, it was in Rebels, but the fact that I got to give the message that Obi Wan gave that we never got to hear, I thought was really pretty cool about the message. This is the message for any remaining Jedi. Trust in the Force. That was really an honor to get to do that. And then my favorite one from Clone Wars would be, right, no, Anakin, she's not my girlfriend.
Awesome. Thank you. Great question.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for being here. I know you guys are all weekend. Visit her universe, visit their tables. Thank you for making so awesome. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for being here. Welcome back to Planet Comicon.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Ashley Eckstein.